Hello. I'm wondering who's out there in Periscope land. Hello. Who's coming in? Let me know who you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here to talk about a really cool new resource I put together for you guys. Hey, welcome everybody. Say hi when you come in so I know who you are so I can say thank you by name. Thanks for the hearts. So if you could do me a favor so we can get some more people in here, if you could share this out, I would totally appreciate it because we're going to talk about some really cool things. So if you're on iOS, swipe right, or Android, swipe up. Make sure you're actually following me so you can tap on the little person icon on the bottom and you'll be able to follow me. And you can get access to some of my free guides on Periscope. Hi, Susan. Thanks for joining. At jolynnoblak.com/Periscope. I don't know if you can hear this music, but I've been working and dancing most of the day, so I thought I would share some good music with you guys, and then we can get started. So who else is in here? I know I got my pal Susan. Who else do I have? I'm going to swipe and see. Hopefully I don't end my own broadcast. So Kelly is here. Haley is here. Susan, thanks for the hearts. And we have some people as web viewers, so it'd be great if we figure out who those people are at some point. So thank you everybody for taking the time to kind of join me here. I've been sort of lacking on my scopes because I've been putting a ton of stuff together for you guys. And so I didn't want to kind of put it off any longer because I know there's a lot of need out there. Thanks, Susan. I want to thank you because you gave me an idea for this. So I am Jolyn Oblak. I have a website at jolynnoblak.com. I am a marketing strategist. I spent 13 years in marketing in healthcare and nonprofits. And so I'm working now full-time on putting together resources for nonprofits and also service-based business so they can market effectively online. And Periscope has become kind of my new obsession. So if you are also obsessed with it and you have not scoped yet, can you just type a 1 for me in the comments, because I want to know how many people we have that haven't Periscoped yet, so I can kind of give you some additional tips to what I'm going to already talk about. Huh. The link isn't working. That's weird. All right, I'll check that out where we're actually here right now, and I'll make sure that I fix whatever I did. It might be some weird thing with my pretty link. It's jolynnoblak.com/Periscope. Just let me know if you still have problems with it, and I'll make sure you get access to it. I can work that out. I think it might be a little techie thing on my end, but just double check that. So I'm assuming we have people here that at least scoped one time, right? So you're not kind of new to the concept. Yay, I'm getting more hearts. All right, let me show you what it is I'm working on. So give me a sec to pull it up. Here it is. I actually found it on the first click. Shocking. Okay. All right, so this is what I put together. And Susan, you know this because you grabbed some of my freebies. I have a basic content planning checklist in my prep guide. And the prep guide is really meant for people. Oh, I think on my address I might have put 0 the number rather than O the letter. That could be. Yes, that could be. I could have screwed that one up, and that happens. And it's even my last name, and somehow I don't remember to put the O but the 0. So I apologize for that. I'll fix that. And so anyway, the prep guide is really meant to be sort of an introduction. I go through a couple of different tips from lighting, different things to think of in terms of the flow of your Periscope session and what kind of content you might want to put together. And as I started talking more and more with people who I was working with individually one-on-one, there was a lot more of a need for an in-depth content planning checklist where we went into a lot more detail. And I started doing this on my own for myself when I started scoping, and it's just sort of built from grown from there. And the prep guide itself, I've updated it, so I will talk about that on Friday, so you know there's even more new stuff that you'll get access to. But this particular guide is sort of an offshoot of that, where I add in a lot more additional content that's going to help you not only run a smoother Periscope, but make sure that you're giving out the best content, because the most important metric for Periscope isn't how many hearts you get or how many hearts you give as a viewer. It's really how long people stay on your Periscope broadcast. And if they don't stay on long, you're not going to get that kind of retention. So the only way that you're going to keep them there is if you give them good stuff. And I think we all know that. We've been on broadcasts where we don't get a lot of value and ones that we do get a lot of value, and we know the difference, right? So what I'm going to do is just talk through a little bit of it so you understand what it's about, and then I'm going to ask you guys to give me some questions, any things that come up in your mind as you're thinking about doing broadcasts that I don't cover. Does that sound good? All right. So let me know you're there and you hear me, because I have had problems with my audio. Okay, cool. All right. So let me go, and I'm going to flip the camera, and then I'm going to go through some of the detail of the checklist so you have a sense of what's going on. And I'll even give you a little bit of a view of it. Okay, so let me flip it and show my mug. Hey, everybody. Do you see me? I got this nifty new, and it's on my tool list. I have this new holder, and I'm sort of testing it out to see if I like it, because some days it's good, other days it does that. So I'm just gonna have to hold it. Anyway, hey everybody. I want to see who else may have joined. Hey Haley, hey Kelly. Okay, so let me just talk through, because I'm gonna look at you, but I'm also gonna just look over here, and I'm gonna go through sort of the framework of it. And why the elements I added and why they're important. And I'm sort of like a planning freak. You know, I don't just randomly get on and just sort of talk. I know I need points, talking points. I know I need to stay on focus. And really the most important thing for Periscope for business, the goal is to, you know, build your brand, build your following, get people to trust what you have to say. But also we want to sell stuff, right? We want to have a business that's growing and thriving, and we want to do that through giving great value on these Periscopes. So one of the most important things about being on your Periscope is making sure you have your call to action sorted out. Now that's industry term. Basically, call to action means that thing you want your viewer, listener, blog reader, email subscriber to do, so they can continue to develop a relationship with you outside of Periscope. So you may add them to your email list and then continue to offer them value that way. At the beginning of the scope, I gave you my link so that you could get access to my free guide. That's a call to action. That's my way of getting you on my list, because people on my list get a lot more value from me than just necessarily on scopes. I mean, you do get a lot on the scopes, but you get first notice of things that are out. And you get other tips. So besides just planning your broadcast title and what you want to talk about, think about what your call to action is. Make sure you have a sense of what that website link will be, and use something like Bitly or Pretty Links to actually get a link that looks pretty, because you don't want something that's got like leadpages.net or whatever, and it's like 16 different characters. So I use Pretty Link because it uses my website domain as the main website, and then I do a /, and then I create a custom link from that. So if it was Periscope resources, that would be sort of the URL. So also think about the type of scope you're going to give. So there's tons of different things you can do on Periscope. You can scope from an event. You can do a motivational scope. You can do a scope where you're announcing a new flash sale on something. So it's like a quick discount for people if they act quickly. You can do sort of a validation of concept, which is a fancy way in product development to talk about or to produce a new product and get people's thoughts on the product. So I've done that sort of private scopes like that, where I've given people an idea of something I'm creating and I get their feedback on it. Or you can do something, you know, that's sort of a hybrid, and those are just a few ideas. The next thing is to think about your hashtag and how you're going to put your scope title together. So think about it as, because it's connected, because Periscope is connected to Twitter, it's really important that you do some advanced research, advanced searching on Twitter, to find not only Periscopers to follow who might be talking about similar things to your niche, but also to think about what, or to discover what hashtags would make sense based on what you're talking about. So if you're talking about marketing, if you're talking about health-related topics, wellness-related topics, if you're talking about a specific event that would have a hashtag, you're going to want to do that and investigate that a little bit and then plan out those hashtags. I think you have room for about 3. But remember that Periscope automatically adds the Periscope hashtag when you send it out to Twitter. So you might do marketing, or I might do business, I might do entrepreneur. If I'm talking about content marketing, I might do content marketing. So do a little advanced research using Twitter Advanced Search, and you're going to want to search for hashtag Periscope. And then you might also do location. So if you're looking for people in a specific location or a specific topic, that should be the other hashtag that you use. So that's just sort of an example. And I'm actually going to do additional training just on the advanced search feature. So just let me know by putting up a comment whether the Twitter search, advanced Twitter search training, whether it's a Periscope or a YouTube video, I'm not sure how I'll do it, if that would be helpful to you, because I'm hearing a lot of people say, hey, yes, I need to know how to search. And just so you know, the Periscope app doesn't have like advanced searching. And Kayvon, who's the CEO of Periscope, has said if you want to do advanced searching for content or other scopers, use Twitter. That's why they're connected. So thank you for the hearts. So the next part, I think probably the second most important, besides just sort of your call to action. Yeah, you need more on Twitter. So yeah. I'm thinking, Susan, I think what I'll do is maybe like a mini training, and it'll be something that I do for my list. I'm thinking, because if the Twitter search is really important to the process, and I don't want people like missing that step. So I think I might do that. Thanks for the hearts. So the next main point you want to think about are what are the 4 or 5 points you want to make. So for one of my first broadcasts, I talked about my prep guide that I just kind of gave you a little bit of information about. And then I laid out the 4 points that I wanted to make sure I hit. So I wanted to talk about, I will do that, Susan. I'll figure out how to do it, when to do it, but I will do it. Why I developed the guide was one of the most important things. I needed to touch upon the pain point. So I know that content planning is difficult. I know that keeping on track during a scope when you have a lot of comments maybe flowing can be difficult. I know I've gone off and sort of not focused on my points because I'm saying hi to people or because someone brings up a question. So I also had 3 or 4 other points that I wanted to make sure that I hit. So it was really important for this guide that I focused on the pain points, like why I did it. Hey, thanks for the support, Tag Tribes. Everybody should join Tag Tribes. It's Mark Shaw's group on Facebook, and there's a lot of support in that community for new scopers or even established scopers. And they come on and they kind of bomb you with hearts and they give you a lot of positivity. So Tag Tribes is on my top 5 list of groups that I'm in, not only for pre-marketing, post-marketing, just community, just building content ideas and sharing with each other. So it's great. So thank you for being here, Tag Tribe member. I appreciate it. So, so you're going to want to scope, you're going to lay out your main topics and your main call to actions, and you're going to list the website links you're going to mention. So you don't have to like shuffle around and figure out how to do that. And as you saw at the beginning of my scope, if those of you that were on here, I created a Canva image with a very simple graphic where I gave people 3 things to do. Share out the scope, which you can still do if you think there's some value here. I'd love for you to share it out on Twitter. You can also follow me, which I'd love because then you get noticed right away when I'm scoping. And then my call to action is the 3rd thing, which is go download my guide. So it's something you can really simply create on Canva, which I love. Hey, Kalita. Girl, I stalk her on her. I go on Miss Kalita Kelvin's. I love you. Thank you so much for joining. I go on her scopes all the time, and I'm like, I want to be like her when I grow up. Thanks, Susan, for sharing that. I appreciate it. You're wonderful. So those of you that just jumped in, hey, Kalita, I love you. I just talked about sort of the first, thanks, I love you too, the first main elements of the checklist. So I'm going to just do a quick recap so people don't feel like I don't care about them who just jumped in. I talked about the beginning part of my content planning checklist and how it kind of came out of my own need. And then working one-on-one with my clients and making sure that they produce the best content, the best engagement possible so that they stay on track, because I'm like all over the place if I don't have something like this. So it kind of came out of that, and it's now expanded into I think a really useful content planning checklist to keep you focused on what it is you want to, value that you want to give. So you start out with listing your topic, listing your title, doing some hashtag research. So we talked about how to do that with advanced Twitter search. And I will probably do a training on that separately so people understand that. Identifying the type of scope you're going to do. Is it a training scope? Is it a live event scope? Are you doing a product demo? Are you doing a motivational thing? Just focus on what your main goal is when you talk about the type of scope, because you don't want to have 3 or 4 things going on in a scope because you're going to lose people. If you feel me on that, say hell yes, because I've been in those types of scopes. Then you're going to just basically identify your 4 or 5 main talking points, the things the concepts you have to get across for you to feel like you've given the best value to people. And then you're going to talk about your calls to action. As I mentioned before, I have a simple graphic on Canva that I do that tells people exactly what I need them to do to share out the scope, to follow me. And also I give my call to action with the website link listed real simply and right in their face. And then I'll end my broadcast with that. So that's a really quick and easy way to make sure they get your link and you can continue to provide value to them outside of Periscope, because you don't want it to end at your Periscope session, right? You're going to make sure you use Pretty Link or BitLink to kind of come up with the right looking link, something people can remember easily. I'm hoping that Periscope will make clickable links at some point so that we can, as broadcasters, just click them into comments. What do you give link midway? Susan, explain that to me a little bit, because I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, so I can answer that. And the other part of the checklist, I talk a lot about pre-marketing and post-marketing. So ideas for how to get the word out about your Periscope. And to think about some of those, I list a couple of groups that I go in, and I give you some other ideas for how you can promote it. And post-marketing, I talk a little bit about repurposing content, which I think is really important, that your Periscope session doesn't just stay on Periscope for 24 hours or even on Catch, that you create other content out of it. And there's a lot of things you can do with your Periscope sessions. And I give you some really cool tips on what to do in there. And then the last part of the checklist is really about making sure you add any follow-up notes, any action items, anything that you want to make sure you remember from this scope for another scope. Do you give them contact and call to action midway and broadcast to catch flybys? Well, as you know, as I came in, say, Susan, I started and then I did a recap. And at the end, I'm going to actually I'm going to show the call to action again. I think you can mention it where it makes sense in the middle as well. But you also have to remember you have people watching the broadcast from the beginning. And I don't want to repeat too much for the people who've already heard it. So the best way to do it is to tell people, catch the replay. You know, if you catch the replay, you can fast forward, go to Catch or go to YouTube where I'll have it up, and you can get through all the content at your own pace and they'll get everything that they might have missed. So I don't think there's a reason not to mention it in the middle if it makes sense and if it flows. All right. And plus my whole thing is talking about this. So mentioning it, should be easy to build in, but definitely do it at the beginning and definitely do it at the end. So you don't lose those people. So one follow-up item that you should absolutely do, this is one of the tips I give you in the checklist, is to make sure you follow up with your viewers. So I do it on catch.me, which is a really great tool, and it actually will link right over to their Twitter. And I send a thank you message. I might do a video, I might just do a text message or a direct message, or I might just say thank you publicly on the timeline. It's just a way of continuing to reinforce whatever message. And if you tweet them, well, it goes on their page and they may retweet it. And so you have the opportunity of having your content and your thank you for your scope seen by other people on their newsfeed in Twitter. So remember, there's a lot you can do after your event, after your scope, to continue that and get more eyes on your content. And one of the things that I will be doing when I launch my blog is to do blog posts about it. So I give you a couple other ideas as well on how you can do that. But that's sort of the basics of the checklist. And what I tell people to do is to also keep track of your retention and your time watched. I think Periscope needs to improve some of the metrics and the statistics. Say that 5 times. But I think some basic information, yeah, you need more info on Twitter. Yeah. I think the best way to optimize Periscope is to know how to use Twitter because they're connected. So I will definitely put some stuff together for you, Susan, and for other people. So keeping track of your stats for me as a marketer, like we're all about statistics. We don't make a move without knowing whether the email was opened or clicked, whether the blog post was shared, whether we've got people, clicking through on our links. That kind of behavior just makes it clear to us what we should or shouldn't change about our marketing strategy. It's just real simple. So I want to see them come up with better analytics. But for now, I keep track of it, and I suggest you keep track of it because as you do new scopes with different content, you're going to see what content keeps people engaged. So their metric for time watched is the most important metric for the people at Periscope to test whether the broadcaster is doing a good job. They don't look at hearts, or hearts are not as important. So you might go on other broadcasts where people are saying, hey, get on, and they're doing things to tell you about hearts, or they're telling you to give them a lot of hearts, or there might be some other activity going on to make hearts really more important. But it's really not. I mean, someone said today, the hearts don't make you money. It's the engagement and the content. So really important that you look at the statistics, because that's going to tell you how many people stayed on your scope for how long. And it's going to give you a time allocation for how many, and that's going to give you information over time of whether you have content that people are engaging with. And one of the things about the metrics that I don't always understand is like retention is something that you measure over time. So sometimes I don't understand. You can't measure that. I mean, the 15-minute scope is not a long enough time to measure true retention. So I'm sure they mean something different than that, but right now, this is what we have. So we have to see how the app develops, how other things are built in for broadcasters, because I want to make sure I'm spending my time on something from a business standpoint that actually makes me money. It is a business, so you can't feel like bad about. I don't want to spend my money in the wrong place or my time on the wrong place. I don't know if Kalita is still on, but I caught one of her. She may not be on. I caught one of her scopes. Where she was talking about how Periscope has helped her make a lot of money in her coaching. So there is a way to kind of connect, and that's why the call to action is really important, because I have tracking pixels on my pages. I have different things to track, so I'll know whether people are going into my list, whether people are going to my landing pages, are taking advantage of my offers, because I'm going to have the tracking pixel there, and I can look at that data. And that's sort of more advanced stuff with Facebook, but there's ways to really look at that and validate your time on Periscope as a business owner. So the guide, the prep guide I talked about at the beginning is a freebie. So it's what you get as a thank you for subscribing to my list, and you'll get additional tips as time goes on Periscope, and I'll develop more things, and I'll probably do a lot more scopes that are more like private scopes, where I walk you through different things, whether it's Twitter advanced search or other things, and maybe even do that on Blab if you haven't heard of Blab. It's a pretty cool tool. It's another version of live streaming that's outside of Periscope. But it allows you to have a couple different people in the seats and to talk through different things, and that may be a way to do some training. This particular guide, which is an expanded version of a content planning guide, I'm actually selling that on Gumroad right now for $19, and that's just an introductory price. And so by the end of this week, that price is going to change. So if you want the advanced guide, the advanced checklist with the 2-page guide that I've put together that kind of explains each of these steps a little bit more, you can go purchase that. And I'm going to, if you saw that list, if you saw the link that I put up in my Facebook groups, that's the link. It's jolenelbeck.com/Periscope planner. So if you go there, you'll be able to download it. But you can also get it through subscribing to my prep guide, because I have a link in there for you. So either way, doesn't matter how you do it. So if you have questions about just planning for content, or if you have specific issues around Periscope in general, I'd love to stop talking myself for like a second, and I'd be happy to answer those for you at any time. So let me know and we'll talk about it. Thanks for the hearts. I don't know why this clip, I just have these issues with this equipment. I get these things and it's like, it kind of works. Kind of doesn't. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the phone around again. I'm going to show you the graphic. I'm going to put up the other link so where you can go purchase this. And if there are questions, even if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to tweet me or direct message me, however you want to do it. Find me on Facebook. I'm everywhere. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the checklist itself anytime. So I am going to unclip, flip, and let you guys go. And hopefully you feel like there was some value out here on the scope, and you would share this with people if you think so. I would much appreciate. Let me flip. Where are you? Aha. It is hiding on me. All right, let me just open. Hello, Canva. I love you. Who doesn't use Canva? It's amazing. All right, let me flip this around. Where I need where to go. You can still, of course, you can share it out if you want to. If you go to JoLynnObeck.com Periscope, you will get access to my freebies plus this new little thing that I just talked about, which is the content planning guide. And the other website you can go to is JoLynnObeck.com/Periscope planner. Planner. Yes, you can spell. So yes, go to Periscope Planner to get access to the guide that I just talked about, where you get the checklist and a couple other cool things, so that you can plan your Periscopes a little more effectively, and also just so that this is really the most important thing, and the reason I kind of have gone through all of this and spent a lot of time on it is you got to make sure you get the value out, that the viewers get the value out of the scope, and you want to make sure that your efforts in terms of building rapport and building your brand are not wasted. So it's very important that you give that viewer the best experience possible in terms of gaining knowledge quickly, efficiently, and that really comes down to planning. And I know that there are a couple other types of people that I follow that are a little more free. And they don't plan as much, or at least they don't use these types of tools because they naturally kind of have a flow to how they do things. And I think that's fun. And I think in time you can get that where you don't need to be so structured. But I think initially, especially if you're starting out, it helps with the nerves. It helps with you feeling a lot more confident about what you're delivering and making sure you hit those main points that you want to hit in the broadcast. So I'm going to close by saying thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I truly appreciate it. I know you could be anywhere but here. And if you're here on the replay and you want to share it out, you can do that. And hearts are also welcome, although not the main focus. I love the idea of getting over 15,000 hearts this week. I'm trying to gain a couple more hearts just because of my own love for them. And the whole goal of the hearts is to show your appreciation and to respond to a moment in a scope session that has value to you. And that's what they're there for. So I appreciate them. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to sign off for today. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Bye, Susan.